My brain's splitting off in so many different directions. My brain's splitting off in so many different. My brain's splitting off in so many different directions that no one has the answers to. My dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Things upset me. What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? Questions that no one has the answers to.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, and we have moved on, Gary. We're done with X-Force.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're doing an entirely different series.
Yes. It's called X-Statix, and it features all the characters from X-Force.
Yep, and the same creative team.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have to pay royalties to Cannonball.
Finally.
So, yep, and Cable. We got new costumes. We got some new team members coming. Mm-hmm. As spoiled by the cover, we got Venus de Milo showing up, who's a super cool design.
Yes.
We're still reeling from the death of Edie, and it's a new era. We got 26 issues of this bad boy, a 5-issue Dead Girl series if we want to cover it, a 2-issue Wolverine and Dupe series if we want to cover it, and that's X-Statix.
I would be. I will probably read that Dead Girl series just to check it out, and then we can make a decision on whether or not we want to recover for the podcast. But at least maybe we'll talk about it for a couple episodes or something. But yeah, I am as involved with these characters as I could be with anything. So I'm going to reach out to all of the stuff. So
yeah, and there's not very much, which is interesting.
Yeah,
like brief candles. This is giant size because we have a backup strip in this one. Mike Allred is back on the art, and this is a great cover. It's done as like a retro giant size X-Men, cover with the new team bursting out of the old team.
Very cool. I love it,
which I always like. And we start off kind of immediately with somebody watching the very first X-Force mission. Here with Zeitgeist saying, I think I may hate this team. I had just gotten used to the new X-Force. And then these new guys went and changed the whole thing. Obviously, this is meta. And this person is very upset about Eagle Girl getting killed.
Yeah.
They've done the unforgivable.
And there's you can immediately see some creepiness happening when this may sound a little weird, but in many ways, Edie was my first girl. Apart from my mother, she was the first girl to speak to me nicely. And as we see this person's room, they have a projector that's projecting an image of Edie onto his wall, and there's just the room is filled with X-Force paraphernalia and images and things. And this kid is exactly that. He's wearing tall socks and shorts and a t-shirt. He looks very much like a teenage boy in all this.
Yeah, cuts his own hair. And he's got an X-Force shirt, and he talks about how he's always going to love Edie and he's always going to hate Guy Smith for letting her die.
Yeah.
And we cut over to his mom coming in. We learn his name. It's Arnie. He's like, it's your favorite. And we can see something's wrong. She's like, I forget. And he's like, how can you tell it's my favorite if you don't know? And then she remembers. She says it's fish pie. And something's going on here. We don't know what. And we see his face. His face is like half melted. He's got this really scarred up. He looks like a Charles Burns illustration. Like he's from Black Hole.
Yeah. Okay.
A little bit. One of those characters. And he says, my mother gave me life, but Edie saved my life.
Yeah. And his mother looks distressed, extremely worried and frantic.
She hasn't slept in weeks.
Yeah. And from here we go to Guy Sawyer kind of just blanking out in the middle of a mission. There's this giant missile coming down and he's thinking about Edie and not really about the fight, and Tyke has to save him. Guy tries to brush this off. It's oh no, I'm just showboating for the cameras. And he's like, yeah, you almost got yourself killed, homie. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. And he's calling him out, just wondering if, this Russian roulette thing doesn't have a kick anymore. And that's why you're trying to kill yourself.
Yeah.
He says the Russian roulette thing is something the media made up. whatever happens, we're still X-Force. And he goes, actually, we're not. And they're having a hard time remembering what their name was. Like, what was it again? X-Statix. And we get the team, again, just killing terrorists, which generally is what they do. They're deployed to, do things that, the Avengers are worried about doing. We got our splash cage and Good Omens, which is the name of this arc. Part 1, Edie Sawyer saved my life.
Yep. Why don't the Avengers show up? That's the whole thing I think of when I'm playing Spider-Man and like the Brooklyn Bridge is collapsing into the ocean, and I'm looking at I'm in photo mode and like I can see the A on the tower in the background, and I'm like, where y'all at? I'm one
Space.
teenage Spider-Man here. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm not even the adult Spider-Man.
Right?
I'm the new Spider-Man. I'm little.
I can't even rent a car.
I'm baby. We cut to the showers where we have a lot of character development. Generally in this series, they talk about how they're going to go choose their new recruit from the feeder camp, rather than just looking at the reels. They're after the spike. They're not going to take any more chances.
Yeah. And nobody has time to do this. Like everybody has other commitments because they're X-Statix and they have commercial agreements that they have to deal with. So they keep postponing, and he's like, I think Dead Girl has like a cryogenics thing, and he's like, cryogenics can wait, Dead Girl. We need to get the team back to full streak.
I love cryogenics can wait. And we kind of visit our little conflicts here. She calls out the anarchist, and he's like, oh, she's actually talking to me. She's like, I didn't have an objection to talking to you. I just didn't want to sleep with you. And then Billy Bob accuses Vivisector of looking down at his junk. He goes, I was looking for the soap. He's like, that ain't where the soap's kept, man. Kind of pushing this. And like the team is, again, kind of falling apart.
Yeah.
This team does not do well. And his monologue continues like, we may not be your average team of mutant heroes, but if you want a team that represents the commercialized, globalized, brand obsessed world we live in, you don't have to look any further than. Instead of X-Statix, it's O-Force, Solomon O'Sullivan's prefabricated team. He's making for a reality show.
And tonight's mutants are Overkill, Orchid, Optoman, and Ozone. And you mentioned this, I think, in the last episode or the one before that, of just how great all of these little one-off mutants are, like just how entertaining they are, and they don't show up, like they don't have a whole lot of character development, like it's just a design, and they're all very, very good. And there's like a whole ranking system on this reality show, so they have to go against people like Obituary and Oracle and Oink and Orbit and Ooze and Ocelot, who just looks like a fucking furry.
Ocelot's great. Like just a sad covered with fur, like sad eyes.
It's hilarious.
Obituary is really scary too.
Obituary is extremely scary. Yeah,
it's a scary name for a superhero.
I like Oracle.
So basically, you get the idea. Yeah, Oracle's great. You get the idea basically that they vote for who's going to be the next member of the team. These are percentages. And poor Orifice, whose powers, as far as I can tell, is that he has vertical eyes and a vertical mouth.
Yeah, dude.
And he's balding. So his powers are he's extremely scary looking.
And the implication,
the lowly 3%,
right? Like, are all of his orifices weird?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Can you imagine having a vertical butthole?
I guess I don't think it would be dramatically different.
No, I mean I think they are vertical.
Yeah, I mean
I don't know. Let me check.
You wanna
give me a minute?
Hold on. I gotta find a tape measure.
Yeah, let me get a system of mirrors real quick. So they're watching this on TV. This is like a reality show, and we cut over to X-Statix watching it. Just like basically these are like real. They're saying like, oh, these are other people. We should sue them for basically doing our shtick of like the fake superhero TV superheroes. These are.
Yeah, and Guy just not believing that that they're into this. They're like, this is so stupid. Like, why are they excited about any of this? But they are. They're like super entertained by it. Meanwhile, Spike Freeman is like, hey, we should get that Venus de Milo because, like, frankly, we could do with an injection of sex appeal. And, like, of course, Dead Girl is like, oh, I'm right here. And he's like, like a more mainstream sex appeal. And it's we're going to talk about this a little bit because like they act like Venus de Milo is the hottest thing ever, and like she's just a mutant, and it's so like she's basically the same proportions as Dead Girl. Like it's bizarre to me and very funny that like they just make it so over the top.
I love it. It's so weird. You know, he's like, oh, maybe you'll get over Edie and fall in love with Dead Girl. He's like, oh, you'd like that, wouldn't you? It'd be good for publicity. I wouldn't do that even if she's the most beautiful woman in the world. And we cut over and it's like, which she probably is. And if you're not reading along, Venus de Milo is like just like a rubber suit with hair. And then the shoulders, where there would be shoulders, there's these like bubbles of black energy. Like it's an incredibly cool design. We're going to find out that she basically is just that energy and lives in the suit.
Yes.
You know, which means she could be whatever.
Yeah.
Like you could be as beautiful as you want to be if you're just energy inside a suit.
It just
means you a beautiful suit.
It just means Professor X designed the suit to make her look like a hot lady. Like that's what this.
That's literally what happened, and that's going to become textual later, and it's really funny. The arc after this, where it starts being, we start learning about all of the things Xavier does to make sure mutants can fuck.
Super good. I'm very excited.
It's really creepy, dude. Like if you like creepy Professor X, the next arc is for you. Guy is being standoffish to her because he doesn't want her to replace Edie, obviously. They go to look at the fights here, and they're taking a look, and the kind of winner here, the person who's doing really well, is this really cool design named Corkscrew, who looks like he's made out of this kind of like liquid metal.
Yeah, he looks like he's got the Kaz outfit on him from Bloodborne, right? Like with the tentacle hands.
Yeah. And he takes it too far. He's doing this fight and he ends up killing one of the recruits. That's not what they're supposed to do. So they start doing the cover up, like, oh, the line's going to be that he died during an underground thing. What do we do with Corkscrew? And they say, oh, his personality profile matches Codex. His mutant gene might have made him unstable. That's where dupe comes in.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. I don't know what the dupe translation here is, but he makes a joke. This is going to be our backup strip. We get to that, which I think is really cool and creepy.
I do too. Yeah. Basically, so the next 5 days is nothing but a guy looking at and trying to basically interviewing all of these mutants and trying to come up with a reason that he shouldn't get Venus de Milo in the team. And like all of his reasons are bad. Like she's a teleporter. She can heal. She can use her powers as a weapon. Like she's pretty much the perfect person. But that's when he starts having these weird hallucinations where he starts seeing Edie in the TV and starts like kind of hearing her voice and stuff, which is going to be happening over the next couple of issues.
Yeah. He basically says we can have her on the team. I can't think of any good reasons not to have her. And Spike's like, oh, like, what do you think? Like, she's Venus Delightful. And there's this great little bit where he's like, I agree with you. We can't call her that, or people will think she's an ice cream flavor, which I think is great. They're going to announce the new team member, and they're really excited about the press conference. But when they do it, nobody shows up.
Whoops.
There's just one person there who's from the X-Fan Weekly who's going to ask a few questions. The reason why is all the press are at O-Force's first mission. And they go find a TV because they want to see this. And O-Force is saving a bunch of has-been actors from a hotel or something.
Yeah. From terrorists
in LA,
which is very much like
terrorist.
what we did, what the X-Force did, like at the beginning of this arc, right? Or the beginning of this kind of run, right? Like they were saving
the first mission,
the boy bands from the terrorists or what have you. Like this was specifically set up to make them look good.
Yeah. And they say, oh, this is clearly a setup. Do you think the public will swallow it? And we go back to Arnie watching this to see what he thinks. And we get a little bit about him, and he, so his obsession with Edie, he talks about, he plays this voice message, and it's like, this is a Edie Sawyer, a personal message for a special person, Arnie. Like he had done one of those call-in like merchandise things, 1999 for a personalized message.
He got a cameo, right?
Yeah, he totally got a cameo.
He got a cameo for Edie Sawyer.
And we learn about like his history and stuff. He was, he had this fucked up face his whole life. These people, these kids in the town beat the shit out of him. And when he came to, his mutant powers came to. And he basically says, this town made my life a hell. Now I'm going to make this town hell. This is based on a Twilight Zone episode called It's a Good Life, relatively. And this is a really cool idea for a mutant who has like just dominion over an area like that. Like he just controls everything that happens in this town.
Yeah. And he's a vindictive little child, right? So he's, does it in the worst way imaginable. We switch back over to Guy talking with Venus, and basically telling her that he's been seeing Edie, hearing her, but she's saying something about Arnie and not using his name. And she's like, why are you telling me this? And he's like, I'm telling you it so you can get out of this. Like, we're all fucking crazy. Like, you need to leave. Like, you're too beautiful to be a part of this. And she's like, okay, just come with me. And she teleports them to a house, which was her childhood home where her grandparents lived when her powers actually manifested the first time, and she murdered her entire family. She like burnt them all to death. And like she couldn't control the energy that she has, so she literally obliterated her entire family. And she's had 8 years of therapy, 4 suicide attempts, manic depression, self-loathing, unable to sleep without drugs that keep the nightmares away. Like and basically that's what convinces Guy to be like, oh, actually, you are fucked up enough to be on X-Statix. Like you should actually be here with us.
Yeah.
But
she presents it as like, if you were looking for reasons, here are some. Yeah. He's like, no, we're all crazy. Join us. And that's the end of the main issue. One of the things I was thinking about with Arnie, did you ever read Ultimate X-Men?
Yeah.
There's that really good issue where there's the kid whose mutant power manifests, and he just kills everyone around him within like a mile radius.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And then like Wolverine has to go kill him. He's like living in a cave eating like junk food and stuff. Like that's a really good issue. That's what that reminds me of, is that like, every once in a while a mutant is going to be born that's like this.
Yeah.
Like they just gotta go, Yeah.
There's so much room to play in right there. Like thinking back to the new X-Men issue with oh my god, I can't remember his name.
The kid, like that.
With the kid, you know what I'm talking about. Zorn. That's what I was trying to come up with. The Zorn kind of like short story with the kid and everything. Like, there's so much room to play in that area of like these kind of weird and sad stories with mutants. So, this is followed up.
This issue has a backup strip.
Yeah. So we have Code X. So they said that hey, Corkscrew may not be mentally stable enough for the team, so he's been designated Code X, and Dupe is going to take him to whatever Code X is. And this is just a really weird and like Dupe has always been kind of an enigma up to this point, but he's never necessarily been like scary. Even in the like Nuff Said issue where like we go inside his head, he wasn't like terrifying. This is the first time I've been legit creeped out by Dupe, and like, what in the fuck are you doing?
It's super creepy that this is his duty.
Yeah.
We don't have to go through this page by page, but it's kind of a little bit of like, it's a video diary with the camera, because Dupe speak, and Corkscrew is being like, hey, this is some kind of initiation test probably. I haven't learned Dupe's language, but he's really cute. And they're going out in the woods where there are these wild horses and camping. And this is basically a test. Dupe is like isolating him. He starts freaking out. He can't take the pressure and he walks away. Eventually he hears horses outside of the tent, and he starts hearing it as laughing and footsteps, like it's X-Statix making fun of him or a search party making fun of him. He's like, this whole thing is a prank. There is no Code X. No one makes fun of me. And he goes out and he goes on a violent rage. Dupe wakes up and sees this. And it turns out he's slaughtered all the horses. And he starts out apologizing. He's like, I'm sorry. They were just all around me. I get like this sometimes as a trigger. I get really angry. These things happen. Like they're just horses, and we see the camera approaching him. He says, oh, what are you doing? What? And then, the next thing is the camera showing, Dupe with an axe. He killed him. There's all this weird blue blood. There.
And he gives the camera a huge smile right before he turns it off. And like, what in the fuck is happening? Like, this is, I'm actually genuinely curious, because I haven't read very much further past this, because as you might imagine, like reading this for the first time, like in all of the references and like story that you'd really need context for, like it just makes no fucking sense whatsoever. But like, I am so want to know what Code X is.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just like, certain people lose their minds about this, and then it's Dupe's idea, Dupe's job to go axe them, like test them and axe them. I think there's not like a whole lot of development for this. I think it's just supposed to be that it's, dark. It's another aspect of, this being a gross kind of pipeline here. So,
yeah. And that's it.
Yeah.
The Marvel Unlimited versions of these have all of the dupe speak columns, like letters to the editor in the back. And we don't really have to go through them. I just mentioned them in the past. And boy, are comic book fans like super fucking sensitive and just so self-righteous and indignant about anything of their precious 2D art. It's just so aggravating.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of people real mad about the Switch, just like, oh, I'll never read your comic again, et cetera, et cetera. And they're being, sarcastic back. There's a really good, thing where like there's a really long thing about it's actually positive, talking about Edie dying and how it's really bold. And it's like, if Edie dies, she'll stay dead. If Cyclops dies, he'll be back. And the only answer they have is who's Cyclops, which I think is real good.
Very funny.
Yeah, but that's issue 1 of X-Statix. We've crossed over.
Yep.
And yeah, we're going to be back in a couple days with X-Statix number 2.
Yeah, come join us. And
continuing Good Omens.
Between now and then, go to the patreon.com/monster of the week.
Yes.
Nope. Jesus Christ, Gary, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
No, shit.
No, just do that one. It's good.
Go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Episodes early, access to the Slack. You guys know the drill. Tell your friends. Duckstream is coming up. We're going to be covering the New Mutants movie, which I don't think is incredible, but I think is a serviceable X-Men movie. So go check that out. You can go rent that or download it in various ways if you want to go check that out before we cover it. We'll have a schedule up for all of that stuff soon. And yeah, we'll be back in a couple of days with X-Statix number 2.